Fitz Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports Daily right now. Rack, stack, pack, ready for 2 hours of wild fun and tons to get you caught up on over the course of the next couple hours. Big guest, a lot of tourney talk. April fooling you for NFL teams. We have a ton we get to, but we start, Caroline, with the breaking news from yesterday that we got from Tiger Woods. We all wondered what would happen with Tiger after yet another DUI, and we got a statement from him making it very clear from Tiger what his intent is. He says, I know and understand, in part, the seriousness of the situation I find myself in today. I'm stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health. This is necessary in order for me to prioritize my well-being and work towards lasting recovery. I'm committed to taking the time needed to return in a healthier, stronger, and more focused place, both personally and professionally. I appreciate your understanding and support and ask for privacy for my family, loved ones, and myself at this time. Tiger stepping away from golf. We now know we won't see him at the Masters. At this point, honestly, we all understand that Tiger has an issue. Tiger needs to worry about his health. What was your reaction when you first saw this?
That this is for the best. This is what Tiger should do. In fact, I didn't really think that there was any way that Tiger Woods could proceed any other way other than this. This was the only option for Tiger Woods because it is so clear and it is so obvious to all of us who love Tiger, who watch Tiger. I've watched Tiger my entire life. For all of us who just, have admired him for so long, it is very clear and very obvious that Tiger Woods has a problem. And I feel like this is maybe about a decade. I don't want to say too late because it's never too late to get help. It feels like this is something that could have been addressed a long time ago. Feels like something that should have been addressed a long time ago. And might I add, shame on golf. Shame on the PGA Tour. Shame on the people in Tiger's corner who tried to protect him for so long, who didn't want to acknowledge that there was a problem, who maybe just wanted to sugarcoat things, who maybe just didn't want to address it. All of the people who love him and all of the people who capitalize on what Tiger Woods, the person and the golfer, can bring them. Shame on them for not addressing this sooner. Because ignoring the problem or protecting Tiger from the court of public opinion does not do him any favors. But that's all water under the bridge at this point. That's all done. That's moot at this point. They should have done something sooner. They didn't. And now they're doing something now. That's the most important thing. So I hope that Tiger gets the help that he needs. I hope that Tiger is able to go through this time to step out of the limelight, to really, address the things that are hurting him and things that are going wrong. Addiction is a very scary and awful disease that unfortunately hits a lot of people. It has touched a lot of people's lives. But I really hope that Tiger gets the help that he needs. And this is necessary. Good for him.
It speaks to how far Tiger has fallen, that there are generations of people that only know Tiger for his issues. And even in a society that we have now where you can go look at anything on YouTube, you can go find any historical footage you want, it's still hard to put some of that into context. It's hard for a lot of people to understand exactly how meaningful Tiger was in the 90s, 2000s, right? In that era when in his heyday. It's hard to understand that because if you didn't live it, you didn't necessarily get the social phenomenon around it. It's like to an entire generation trying to explain the Beatles or trying to explain any other phenomenon, right? Like, what did it mean and why did it capture the world's attention? Tiger was bigger than golf. Tiger was more than just a golf course. And Tiger had a way of making people that had never cared about golf before suddenly stop everything to watch tournaments they knew nothing about because they knew that they were seeing once in a lifetime. That is the power of greatness that Tiger brought to what he did. And that's why Tiger became Tiger. We understand that. That's why Tiger will never be replaced. There can't be a next Tiger because you can't get the same sort of energy that you get from a first. We'd never seen anyone that looked like Tiger even allowed into some clubs. And all of a sudden we see Tiger out here doing these great things and just absolutely destroying the competition. It was must-see TV every single time he was on a golf course. And now the must-see TV portion of it is relegated to what it feels like are just bad documentaries about the downfall of someone. Tiger at this point is more known for the problems that he's faced over the last 20 years than he is for the golf that he's played by an entire group of people. And I think that that's a statement to how great he was and how great an impact he made because we care about the downfall. But it's also a statement to how wild this downfall is. And frankly, you're right. Addiction is incredibly serious and addiction is incredibly difficult. Addiction is a reason that so many of us present sympathy to people because it's impossible to work through. But also, there are how many people around Tiger Woods every day that have either let this happen or haven't stepped in to try and help him get the help that he needs, or he hasn't listened
Mhm.
to them. At some point, I feel like we're treating so much of the downfall of Tiger, honestly, with kid gloves. Are we as kind to the downfall of NBA players that maybe don't have the same level of name recognition? Are we as polite to the downfall of NFL players that may not have been quite to the level of what Tiger is, but all of a sudden they find themselves broke at some point? Are we as kind to the downfall of any celebrity anywhere that we watch go through this and we see suddenly wake up and their lives have been ripped apart by the addictions that they suffer through? I don't know that we are. So the interesting part to me here is that I want Tiger to get the help that he needs because I'm a human with empathy. And I think we all want to see people struggling get the help that they need. But I fail at times to have the same level of sympathy for what Tiger has gone through because the means and the ability to find that help have been, will be, and always have been available to him. So I'm
Yeah.
glad he's getting the help now. The cynic in me hopes that it's not just a statement to try and sort of stop the bleeding of negative press that comes year in and year out for Tiger. So I don't know. I think like anybody else that if you look on the outside looking in, when somebody starts to go through the process of rehab, and I know many people that have gone through this in life personally, you just step back and say, I hope it works. I hope this works and we get a better version of Tiger. But Caroline, and none of it changes the fact that Tiger's legacy will be forever viewed differently for everything that he's caused to his own legacy over the last 18 years.
That's part of the legacy. We are ignoring a big part of the book of Tiger Woods if we act like that's not going to be part of his legacy, whether it's his battles with addiction or the fact that he needs to not be behind the wheel of a car. You mentioned how there's a whole generation that knows more about the legend of Tiger Woods as a great golfer versus they've actually seen it. I'm one of them. I mean, Tiger Woods won 3 of his 4 Masters before I even hit double digits in age. So a lot of the greatness of Tiger are just reruns that I've seen or stories that I have heard from people who lived during the greatness and the peak of Tiger Woods. And of course, I saw the comeback and the return in 2019 when he won the Masters, but it was that kind of catharsis that I think a lot of the sports world and the golf world felt that I didn't, because I wasn't there or I didn't remember the greatness of Tiger Woods. I think my first memory of Tiger Woods was with the cheating scandal. That was when I was, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, around there, like a preteen. And so it was just then I was starting to really understand and grasp and remember pop culture and news at the time. So that's my first impression of Tiger Woods, him cheating on his wife. Obviously, there's, different offenses in life, but that's the first thing that I remember. And I think there's a big portion of sports fans out there that remember the cheating scandal, that remember the DUIs, that remember the car accidents. So if there's an entire generation of sports fan that can legally gamble and legally drink, that have seen more negative from Tiger than positive, then 1000% that's going to be part of his legacy. 100%. I do think you bring up a good and fair point that we will rake people over the coals, whether it's athletes or celebrities, actors, musicians, whatever it might be, that go through their own battles and trials and tribulations. And we do not have as much grace or forgiveness for some of those people. And that's not fair. And the court of public opinion is not always fair. The court of public opinion is not a court of law. We do not approach every person in every instance with the same amount of investment or care or, with, or just, delicateness and gracefulness. And Tiger Woods does get that because of what he has meant to an entire generation of sports fans. That it is fair to say that Tiger Woods is one of the most influential sports figures of all time. So we, of course, will approach anything with Tiger Woods with a little bit more grace and graciousness than maybe some other people out there. And is that fair? Of course not. It absolutely is not fair. But I think an important point to bring up is Tiger Woods is very lucky that he didn't kill someone, himself or someone else. And I know that's a lot to hear at 9, 10 a.m. Eastern time, but he is. He's lucky. And thank goodness he didn't. Thank goodness it didn't go further than that. I mean, it's detrimental to himself and to his career, but a human life was not lost because of it. But I can't help but think about what if? What if he did? What if something worse did happen? We just because it didn't doesn't mean that we can't hold his offenses in a different light, Fitzy.
And I keep coming back to our conversation yesterday, which you can check out on YouTube with Dan Rappaport, where he pointed out, Tiger wants to feel human. Tiger wants to feel normal. Okay. Maybe it's best for Tiger and golf if Tiger and golf aren't synonymous anymore. Maybe if he just wants to be normal and he just doesn't want to be seen as Tiger, well, certainly you're Tiger Woods. You don't have to step on a golf course. You don't have to step in front of a microphone. You can just sneak off into obliviousness. It happens all the time. There are former athletes and musicians and celebrities and superstars all the time that slip off into obliviousness. One of the great things that, according to Google, being worth over $1 billion affords you is the opportunity to live anywhere and be anything and do anything. So if Tiger simply wants to be invisible and doesn't want to be in the spotlight, he can move somewhere and not do that. He doesn't have to play golf anymore. Now, if he wants to play golf for fun, certainly he can build his own golf course if he wants to do that in solitude, right? But part of this is I feel like we constantly have this when is Tiger coming back to golf mindset, which I think we're learning is not only bad for golf, as I've said a million times, you got to get out of the shadow of Tiger before you can establish who the next generation of stars are going to be. But maybe Tiger needs to get out of the shadow of golf equally. Maybe the healthiest thing for golf and Tiger is the same thing, and it's for him to just not be part of the golf news anymore. If Tiger can go to a rehab facility and find a sober and clean life that works for him, and then stay out of the limelight and go live in the middle of nowhere where he doesn't have neighbors and nobody knows him, and he can just sit in solitude and get the peace that he wants without the pressure of a platform. If that's what will help him heal, he can do that. He can certainly go somewhere and do that. Maybe it's not Jupiter, Florida. Maybe he can't be in the thick of the temptation. Maybe he's got to find a way, just like some actors choose not to live in New York and LA, because if you don't live in New York and LA, you have a better chance of not being followed everywhere by paparazzi. Like, the concept that anonymity simply cannot follow Tiger Woods, I think, is flawed. The concept is anonymity can't follow him in the lifestyle he currently leads. But if anything, we're finding out that that lifestyle in and of itself might be destructive. So maybe the answer for Tiger is to not just go to rehab, but then when he comes out of the facility and he's trying to establish a new life, truly establish a new life. I wonder, Caroline, if that wouldn't be better for him and also better for golf, because we could all just close the chapter and truly move forward.
You say it might be destructive. It 1000%, 100 cajillion % is destructive. I mean, it's destructive to his body. It's destructive to his image. It's destructive to his mental psyche. And I really struggle with this. And we had a great conversation with Dan Rappaport. You can find that in the Yahoo Sports YouTube page. And he did mention, driving makes Tiger Woods feel like a normal human being. That's great and all. When normal human beings get 3 DUIs, they lose a privilege of driving. So maybe Tiger Woods should lose that privilege as well. At what point do you put yourself and others in so much harm that your regular person privileges get revoked? I would argue maybe after the first one. Maybe we don't let this drag out for a decade and 3 to 4 DUIs and then a complete leg reconstruction. I do have sympathy for the celebrity lifestyle, living in the limelight. That's hard. That's hard on a person. Life's hard no matter what path you choose, because there are certain privileges that Tiger Woods has that I'll never have. There are certain privileges that I have that Tiger Woods can never have. That's just life. I'd love to play Augusta. Don't think that's ever going to happen for me. Tiger Woods can do that literally whenever he wants. I can go to the grocery store and nobody cares. Tiger Woods can't do that. That's so is life. So I'm sorry, Tiger, that you don't get an opportunity to feel like a regular person sometimes. You can't put yourself and others in harm's way in order to search for that.
As I said yesterday to Rappaport, and I will say again, I've been lucky in my life to be around a lot of people that are too famous to go out in public. None of them have turned cars over and over and over again. So at some point, Tiger has to own it. Maybe this is the beginning of that process. We'll break down any additional news we get. And obviously, we've got plenty of Masters breakdowns coming to you. Before we get to the Masters, knowing that Tiger won't be there, we will be sure to break it all down. But coming up next, it was a big night in the NBA, and that man continues to absolutely shine. We'll tell you about Luka's latest conquest next.
What are some things about the Detroit Pistons that we on the outside might not know?
The culture, when I walked into this, the culture for me was pretty impressive. The way the players kind of come to bat for each other. And, Isaiah Stewart is not a guy off the court that is like an angry human being. In that Charlotte game, it was all he was saying in the locker room was like, I'm going to have you guys back. That's what I do. For me, it's impressive to see just how together everyone is and, the culture that they've continued to build.
I have Sadiq at the top like you. That's not the surprise. Sam Roush from Stanford, who had the big combine, unlike a lot of college tight ends that are productive, he actually, in my opinion, is playing the position like a pro right now. I love how he rumbles after the catch. I like Sam Roush quite a bit, Nate, because I just love that I could put him on the line of scrimmage, and I think he's tough as hell.
If you're a team that needs a left tackle, would you be concerned that this seemingly is a right tackle draft?
Concerned, no, because you got to have a plan for it. And this is where your area scouts and the forecasting of what's coming out in the draft is important, and understanding that. I want to go back to CeCe Maunoa that you talked about. I think his overall stock is up for me because I'm feeling like now if you have CeCe Maunoa on your team, now he gives you the ability to put your best five on the field, whether he's your right tackle or he's your guard.
See the snap.
Jerome the throw, and that's caught. Demond Street goes up and gets it, and it'll be 1st and goal for New Mexico.
Demond Street's having a day.
1st and goal. Johnson on the keeper, and he'll throw it up, and Jefferson's got it. Touchdown, New Mexico. How do you like that?
What's up, Jason and Caroline? Here's what happened while you were sleeping in the NBA. We had 2 of the top 4 teams in each conference duking it out on Tuesday night. The Cleveland Cavaliers traveling to Los Angeles to face the Lakers. And the Lakers handled business on their home floor, defeating the Cavs 127-113. This game wasn't really that close after the third quarter. Call it tired legs for the Cavs because they were playing on the second leg of a back-to-back, or maybe the LA nightlife just got to them. We know how James Harden is. But the Lakers defense held Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, and Evan Mobley to under 20 points, and that's what you want. The Lakers were outstanding offensively as well, shooting over 50% from the field, 40% from 3. But this was really about the performance of Luka Doncic. 42 points, 12 assists, 5 rebounds. This man has been on a tear, averaging over 37 points for the month of March, helping the Lakers go to a 15-2 record over that span. So I'm wondering, do you guys think Luka Doncic actually has a legitimate chance at winning the MVP? I mean, the Lakers just hit 50 wins. They were outstanding over the course of March, and they're heating up right at the right time. What more does Luka have to do to overtake SGA and Victor Wembanyama to possibly pull in his first MVP award? Let me know what you think. Back to you guys.
I love the concept from Titus that Luka can play his way into the MVP. And certainly Luka is hot. He's hot at a level that is absolutely wild. But man, Caroline, I mean, Luka could average 100 points a game for the rest of this regular season, and he won't catch SGA and Wemby. It's just too late. There's not enough runway left. And there's like the other part of this is we need to see a massive fall off from the other two guys, because it was just what in the last 48 hours we came here and debated after a great night, an incredible night for Wemby, matched by an incredible night for SGA. And all of a sudden we were like, oh my God, which one's the MVP? Now we're throwing Luka. It's not happening. Like, this is great, but Luka has absolutely, mark it down, stamp it, 0%. He could have the single greatest week in NBA history, and he will not win the MVP.
I don't know if I can go that far, but I don't totally disagree with the sentiment. Like, for me, it's so simple as it's not about Luka right now. I'm sorry, Luka, it's ain't about you. Because there's nothing that I have seen from SGA or from Wemby that would lead me to believe that either of those two are going to do anything to lose their strongholds as the top two favorites to win MVP. Right now, the betting odds, SGA minus 350, Wemby plus 250, Luka plus 3,000. And I know the betting markets aren't everything, but they are something. There's not skyscrapers in the desert for no reason. So I think at this point, it's not about Luka. It's about the other two. And it's so obviously, in my mind, it is so clear and so obvious, even if it hasn't been obvious all season long. It is SGA 1, and then there's a gap, and then it is Wemby 2, and then there's a gap, and then there's the Cade Cunninghams, and the punctured lung of it all throws a hitch into it. But the Jokic's, the Lukas, the Jaylen Browns, all kind of jumbled up, tied for third place, and it's dealer's choice. If you think it's Jaylen Brown 3, the rest 4 or 5. If you think it's Luka 3, the rest 4 or 5. You pick. It's up to you. Go crazy with it. But however you want to slice and dice it, it is so obviously SGA 1. It is so obviously Wemby 2. I don't think that there's anything at this point that those two can do to slip.
The other thing is that there's nothing Luka can do now to erase the way the season started. And, I get it. Right now, the Lakers are hot. So we love talking about this. And frankly, the Lakers are trying to make fools out of all of us that counted them out, myself included. The end of the day, though, part of the reason that they were counted out is that we've had experts on this show that have literally laughed in front of a microphone when asked about the Lakers defense, right? Like, there are two sides. And I'll go back to covering the NCAA tournament. I was in the room for all of 5 minutes with our buddy Dallin Cuff before Dallin was like, you realize that the basketball was played on both ends of the court? Like, at some point, the way that the Lakers played for the first couple of months of the season, particularly defensively, has to be part of a conversation of MVP. Like, I want to be clear here. I think Luka is dynamic and one of the biggest superstars in all the world. I also don't think that there's a single compelling case for the entire season that would put Luka ahead of SGA or Wemby, because SGA and Wemby for the entire season have done more. This is an OKC team that's going to walk in with the first probably seed in this entire thing that has been ravaged by injuries. The one consistent that they've had is that their MVP has looked like an MVP over and over and over again. Wemby's been on basically a minutes restriction all year long and has still been able to come out with a level of efficiency and, let's just say it, ass kickery that is absolutely dynamic. Yeah, Luka's been special to watch over the last couple of months, and that's incredible. But my God, I mean, that doesn't erase the basketball we were talking about barely in November and December. That doesn't erase the things that we saw early in the year. So this is one of those moments where it doesn't have to be about anything that Luka isn't or Luka hasn't done. It has to be about the fact that Luka's body of work over an entire season does not equal the body of work of OKC's, of SGA or of Wemby. And to me, it's sort of that simple. Now, there was a big milestone night for two guys last night because we've given Luka a little bit of love, but also LeBron passed Kareem, now the all-time leader in games won. So Luka also passes 15,000 career points at the age of 27. So both guys had a landmark last night. I know, I big. So let's we're gonna give flowers to both of them. Caroline, I'll let you go first. Who do you want to give flowers to?
Yeah, I mean, this is hard because I want to give flowers to both of them, but I'll give my flowers to LeBron because LeBron needs flowers. LeBron doesn't get enough love. Exactly. I've heard Kareem Abdul-Jabbar pretty good. So if anytime you can do something more than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it, I think that's awfully impressive. I think that what we saw last night between both Luka and LeBron is indicative of two things that we fall in love with as sports fans. Instant, immediate success in a short period of time and sustained success over a long period of time. And that's what we saw from LeBron. LeBron is otherworldly. LeBron is one of the best players that we will ever watch that has ever played this sport. And he has done it at such an incredibly high level for so long. And I think surpassing this threshold of most wins ever in the NBA is indicative of that. And when LeBron James is eventually enshrined forever in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, he is going to have a very, 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 very long resume and list of accomplishments of why he deserves to be immortalized in the highest regard, and this will be one of them. I think that we all, and I know there are LeBron haters out there, I hear you, I know there were Tom Brady haters out there too. Anytime someone's great, someone's going to hate it. I think that we all just need to appreciate that we are watching history in motion, in person, personified right now, and that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree. And I found myself thinking about, I'll go back to being the old man again. But as a kid, I watched Kareem play on those Laker teams in the 80s. And I tried to understand but couldn't. what it meant to see Kareem, because frankly, that was the end of Kareem's career. It was really the beginning of Magic, the end of Kareem. And I watched all that and tried to put it into context in my mind. I kept thinking about that last night with the people watching, kids right now watching LeBron, and what they're watching is a far more effective version of LeBron than I ever think I saw of Kareem late in his career. That being said, I'll give flowers to Luka here, because certainly the conversation about Luka over time sometimes gets, I'd say, twisted. Like, how many times have we all made jokes about the fact that Luka hasn't necessarily been in tip-top physical shape, right? But he reaches 15,000 career points, sixth fastest player to hit that milestone ever. So for a guy that, has been traded because the original franchise that had him just didn't believe he would ever have that certain what to get them to a title, like he was traded somewhere, for a guy that we've made, body shaming jokes about repeatedly over and over and over again, a guy that's just now getting himself in shape, maybe has an MVP candidacy, and we're talking about 15,000 career points. And I think what hit me there is not only the effectiveness of the points, but also the fact that he hit that mark under 27. Sometimes we feel like Luka's been in the league so long because he's been a professional so long that we forget that this is a young player on a Lakers team. Like, the reason that this is so transcendent for the Lakers is not just this year. It's the fact that they've got a decade of Luka coming, and that's the scary part of it to me. Now, the other side of the win is the loss. The Cavs take the L last night, and it was a bad one. You might think there was panic meter for the Cavs, but the Knicks are saying, hold my beer. The Knicks lose 111-94 on the road in Houston, right? Brunson was ineffective all night. Cat was walking around like he didn't want to be there. He was walking around like a cat, disinterested in the entire thing, didn't want to hear from you. He just wanted to be out of the building. So last week we asked a question about the Nuggets. Are they both contenders and pretenders? It's on my mind now. What do you think, Caroline? Are the Knicks the Eastern version of this? Are they the could be a contender, could be a pretender of the East?
I think we throw the word contender around all willy-nilly. So allow me to give my own definition of contender. This team can win a championship. This Knicks team's not winning a championship. Like, I'm sorry. This team is not NBA Finals caliber, so I'm going to say pretender. Look, the Knicks are going to make some noise in the postseason. The Knicks are going to be fun in the postseason. We're going to hear bing bong all over the place. And you're going to start believing. You're going to start buying in. Pretender. Like, this team's not winning a championship. They look, to your point, they look so disinterested. This doesn't feel like one cohesive unit. This doesn't feel like a team that has championship DNA. This feels like a team with a lot of really talented players that are going to win enough games to be interesting and to be fascinating. And we're all going to be engaged and we're all going to be tuning in to what the Knicks can do. But at the end of the day, winning a championship means being one total cohesive unit. That's not what this Knicks team is. So I'm going pretender.
Yeah, the fact that Kat still says, quote, I'm still trying to figure out where I can impact our team in winning the most.
It's April.
75 games into this. Yeah, it's a little late for that, Kat. Like, no, the real answer is, like, you ain't going to figure it out. If you haven't figured it out by now, you're not going to. Yeah. So this, to me, just comes back to the one thing that the Knicks told us. The Knicks as an organization told us last year when they were eliminated from the playoffs that anything less than appearance in the NBA Finals would be viewed as a failure. So I am ready to call this Knicks season a failure, because contender to me at least means we can get to the finals. I don't believe this Knicks team can or will get to the finals. As a result, I believe that this entire season has become a fail. They are not a contender and a pretender. They are a pretender, and we will just await their inevitable demise. That is just, I'm sorry, Knicks fans. I want you guys to have great things. This is not the year for it. And all of this change and chaos meant nothing. All right, so from that to the day of the week. It is April 1st. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but that means April Fools. But we've got some April Fools power prankings. Some of the big foolish headlines happening in the NFL right now.
Who is your first player to team fit that you absolutely love?
Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end of Oregon, to the Chiefs. And this was basically a post-combine reaction, basically Vernon Davis style numbers athletically. And so I think it was validating to see kind of him put those numbers up athletically, speed, explosion, change of direction. He feels like a player that is not going to drop very far in this draft, especially in a draft where there aren't a ton of blue chip players.
Do you feel pressure that this is America's birthday, this is the White House, you have to represent? Hell yeah. I do feel pressure. I feel pressure that, I got to go out there and represent for the United States, and I got to go out there and I feel like I'm going to be expected to go out there and win this fight. I'll probably be a favorite. There's pressure right there too. I put pressure myself. I need to finish. It's been too long.
Johnson to the end zone, caught. Guess who? C.J. Jefferson.
And talking to the coaches this week, they said that's your playmaker. That's the guy that Jerome Johnson has the most confidence in. And there you are on 4th and goal, and you throw it right at the goal line, right at the yellow line at the wall. Terrific throw. Nice catch.
Great execution there for New Mexico. They had to have a play.
The Dallas Mavericks, are they still taking Cooper Flagg, Corey?
He is legitimately, as a 6'8" wing who does everything at a high level. Shows up every day, competes his ass off.
The way his handle has improved since high school to Duke to now suggests that this guy can be a MVP candidate, not just a multi-time All-Star as a role player, a high-end star role player, but a mega star.
Shefty tweets out, Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy, who coached Aaron Rodgers for 13 years in Green Bay, said he has spoken with the quarterback weekly, every couple of days, and he added their conversations have been similar to conversations over the years, which brings all of this hope back in April Fool's Day here. Is McCarthy pranking us into thinking that Rodgers is coming back, Caroline?
If it's similar to conversations they've had over the years, I don't know how good of a thing that is. Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, famously not always the greatest of bestie pops. But let me just say, Aaron Rodgers speculation, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? When he does play, where does he play? Aaron Rodgers speculation, is he coming out of his darkness retreat? It's become my favorite off-season tradition. I mean, you know what? Why not? Why not Aaron Rodgers comes back to the Steelers? And also, might I add, Aaron Rodgers is always unpredictable. Whatever Aaron Rodgers does is not something that can be speculated upon by even the best of insiders, the Rappaports, the Schefters, so on and so forth. But everything that we've heard coming out from even going back to the Super Bowl, going back to the Combine, and now from the owners' meetings, all the writing on the wall says Aaron Rodgers is going back to Pittsburgh. That if Aaron Rodgers does come back to the NFL, which I believe that it does, where there's smoke, there's fire. If and when he does come back to the NFL, everything that we've heard is that he will go back to Pittsburgh. So yeah, I do think that this is real. I do think there's some legitimacy to this. And I do think that maybe Aaron Rodgers has grown a little bit of maturity and can bury any sort of hatchets that may still exist with Mike McCarthy.
I think it's real because it has to be real, simply because the Steelers don't really have a viable other answer, right? And so I don't think everybody would be this calm.
Will
if there was
Howard?
a viable
Come on.
secondary. Okay, yeah. Like I said, I'll stand by it. The Steelers don't have another real answer. Now, maybe the Steelers,
which might be a better answer.
I mean, you're right. If the intent is to suck, then maybe not having Aaron Rodgers is fine. Or if all of this is a smokescreen and it's going to lead them to Ty Simpson in the draft, maybe that's the plan. But I think what makes the most sense is that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back next year either way. And the fact that they're having constant conversation is just part of Aaron Rodgers. Why make it easy when you can make it a long, drawn-out, difficult conversation? Like, I just don't understand why. Like, look, come back, don't come back, just let me know. Like, brevity, dude. Like, that's all we need here. But that's not Aaron Rodgers. So I think McCarthy is letting us know that he feels comfortable with it because they want the fan base to all take a big sigh of relief. I honestly believe Aaron Rodgers comes back, mostly because there isn't another answer. So let's do some power prankings in honor of April Fool's Day. So in honor of April Fool's Day, what we're going to do is we're going to pick some teams that we think are out here fooling everybody. So they're going to fool us into thinking they're going to be good, or they're fooling us. Maybe they're lulling us to sleep. Maybe I'm being negative Nancy. All right, so Caroline, give me anybody you think that is just fooling us into thinking they're going to be good next season, but you're not taking the bait. Who ranks at the top of your prankings?
The Colts. The Indianapolis Colts. We have been tricked by them before, and I'm not getting tricked again, especially this season. Like, you spend all of that money to keep Alec Pierce. At what cost? At the cost of Michael Pittman. So are you really better at the wide receiver position because you spent more money than anyone has ever spent on a free agent wide receiver in Alec Pierce. Good player, but like, franchise savior? Don't think so. So you lose Michael Pittman. Daniel Jones, I cannot believe less than a year removed from the injury that he suffered in midseason or end of last season, that even if he is ready to go week 1, I cannot believe that he's going to be 100%. And also, might I add, I'm still not convinced that Daniel Jones is what he showed us he was, at least at the beginning of last season. We have way more of a sample size of sucky Daniel Jones than we have good Daniel Jones. So at least my jury's still out on Daniel Jones. And then you push all of your chips into the middle last season for Sauce Gardner. I didn't think the Colts were one corner away from being a contender. And now you don't have your first round pick this year or next year. So I think that the Colts are totally pranking us. You know, Chris Ballard has not won the division since he's gotten to Indianapolis, and I don't think that this year is going to be any different. I don't see why this Colts team is any different or significantly better than the teams that he's put together in the past. And if the Colts do win the division, I think that says way more about the Texans and the Jags, sorry, Tennessee, than it does about Indianapolis. So I think they are totally, totally pranking us.
You know, last year, I was the captain of the Colts choo-choo train, right? Whatever you call the engineer.
Maybe we've all been there before, like, Fitzy.
Chugga, choo-choo. Okay. And I was like all in on the choo-choo. And I was like, yeah, the Colts are going to be great. The Colts are going to be great. And I was like, yeah, we got this. And now, even now, today, I could sit there and say, yeah, but the injuries. Yeah, but Daniel Jones. But here's the thing, Caroline. You're so right. I'm standing at the same station, and I'm watching the Colts train, and it's coming up, and it's slowing down because it wants me to hop right back in that front seat and start going woo woo again. Like, it wants me to hop on and be like, no, the Colts are going to be fine. And just as the train slows down and they look over and they open the door, I just look and say, all set, thanks. Like, I'm taking a hard pass on jumping on this train this year. I'm all set. I'm going to wait and see what other options I have. Like, I might get a different route. It might not be as good a route, but I'd rather just not take this train again. I am so uncomfortable with whatever they're going to do at quarterback this year. And frankly, even though they've been able to at least be mediocre with terrible quarterback play when they've had it, all of it just makes me uneasy for a franchise that feels like the seats are hot all over the place. Oh, no, I want nothing to do with whatever the train is that's coming through that has the Colts logo on it at all. So I'll give you my.
I don't know what it is about the Colts. They do this every year. They fool us every single year. I think more than any other team. I think it's the Colts and the Cowboys. They fool us, this fugazi, just, illusion of what this team could be. I will never forget reading an article when Matt Ryan was coming to Indianapolis. This article was the most Disney World, flowery, just the savior of our franchise is here. And it said Matt Ryan gets to the facility at 5 a.m. It's like, yeah, so does every other quarterback. You're not special. So if the Colts just brainwash everyone every offseason to think that this year's going to be different. This year's going to be different. They're like a toxic boyfriend. I don't get it, Fitzy. This year's not going to be different.
So I'm going to go to the first team that's pranking us. And I'm going to be honest with you, Caroline. Every year of my professional sports career, this is year 10, every year of my career, I get asked the same thing going into the season. How are the Raiders going to do? And the funny thing is, I've been within one win of the prediction every year until last year. Last year, I was so far off. And then now this year, I've seen Fernando. I know Fernando's coming. We have the Max ordeal, but Max comes back. We have Frank Schwab telling me that the offseason winner is the Raiders. I sat here and I looked at this segment and I said, who's pranking us? And I had this sad moment sitting in my kitchen, eating my overnight oats. And I'm like, you know what? I'm falling for it again. I'm doing it. You know who's pranking me? My beloved Raiders. Carolina, I want to believe. I do. I have to believe right now. But here's the thing I keep telling everybody, and I said to us over the course of this show a few times. No rookie quarterback selected first overall since the year 2000 has had a winning season his rookie year. I believe Fernando is probably going to start this year. And I believe that the Raiders are probably going to get better, but it still feels like, realistically, you don't jump from worst team in the league to suddenly playoffs most of the time. I think the realistic solution is probably 6 wins. But I sat there eating my overnight oats saying, I'm being pranked. I'm being pranked into thinking this is all going to work. And it never works. Every rebuild always fails. Caroline, set myself up for it. My beloved Raiders are actively pranking me, and they're laughing at me while I prepare to buy my Fernando Mendoza jersey.
You're doing what I do. And that's, just set the expectation low so you don't get disappointed by your favorite team. I know that playbook very well. But I think it's true. Look, the Raiders are in the middle of a rebuild. They have a new head coach. They're bringing in a rookie quarterback. You're not going to be great. I think it's more so how optimistic do you feel about the Raiders' trajectory over the next 5 years? Like, the Raiders aren't going to be good this season, but I think that's okay. I think it's okay that the Raiders aren't going to be a Super Bowl contender next year. Are they going to be a Super Bowl contender over the next decade? That's I think the bigger question. Can you bring Fernando Mendoza along? Are your young players, you see them right there, the core, Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, are they coming along? Do you at least have competent offensive linemen? Period. I think that would be at least gradual increase in quality there in Vegas. So I think it's okay if the Raiders are pranking us a little bit this offseason. But one thing that I don't think it's okay, it is not okay if this team has a bad season or falls short of expectations. But a team that I do think is pranking all of us, that's the Eagles. They're selling to all of us that they're going to be a contender this year, and I do not believe it. I do not buy it. The vibes are so bad in Philadelphia. You lose Jalen Phillips, who was a big part of the Eagles down the stretch last season after the trade deadline. You lose him, he goes to Carolina. You lose Reed Blankenship, one half of the exciting whites, so that's very sad. He goes to Houston. Nakobe Dean heads to the Raiders. CJ Gardner-Johnson is out. Jahan Dotson is out. And so you're losing a lot of productivity. The Eagles didn't do a ton in free agency other than lose players and lose production. The A.J. Brown vibes are bad. I think that the writing is on the wall. I think it's inevitable that A.J. Brown is not going to be playing in an Eagles uniform, at least at some point next season, whether he gets traded before the draft or draft night or at the trade deadline, whatever it is. I think A.J. Brown's days are numbered in Philadelphia, so those are bad vibes. You bring in Sean Mannion to call plays, which has to be an upgrade from Kevin Patullo, because I think I would be an upgrade from Kevin Patullo, but still, Sean Mannion's never called plays in the NFL before. Like, I think there are some serious question marks about the Philadelphia Eagles, Fitzy, that are not going to be answered with a positivity bunny.
Yeah, and that comes on the heels of a new report this morning from Jeremy Fowler at ESPN about so let's say the chaos happening, the poor relationship with Jalen Hurts and the team, the fact that Hurts isn't always perceived to be the most coachable guy, sometimes goes rogue on the play calling and sometimes goes rogue on the execution, and the receivers see it like it's broken. The fact that so many people interviewed for a job at a Super Bowl contender and chose not to take it, to me, is always a weird sign. Something is broken in Philadelphia. I don't think it fixes easily. I agree with you on that. I will give you a shocking take for my other pranking, shocking to many. Ooh. And look, it's a team that it's foolish to doubt more often than not, but I'm going to go in. I'm going to doubt them. I doubt the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And I understand that we want to make last year an aberration. No, they'll be fine. Well, we also want to presume that Mahomes is going to get right back on the field with no rust and be the best of Mahomes. And then we also want to presume that that the Chargers in LA didn't get better. And we want to presume that the Broncos didn't get better. I think the AFC West, the top two teams in the AFC West, are clearly the Chargers and the Broncos. The Chiefs are the third tier in that division, still far ahead of where the Raiders are. But with that being said, that's a difficult trajectory to a stacked playoffs in the AFC. I believe that much of the AFC will find its way back to normal. I still think that the Bills are a very good football team. I still think that the Ravens are going to prove themselves to be a very good football team. So I look across the board, Caroline, and I'm looking at it saying, are we really sure that the Chiefs are going to be just fine? Are we really sure that the Chiefs are right back into the playoff conversation? I don't think we are, and I think right now we're giving a ton of benefit of the doubt to the brand that the actual moves on the field don't support. So I think the Chiefs are pranking us.
Oh, I don't. You mentioned benefit of the doubt for the Chiefs. They've earned it. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they've earned the benefit of the doubt. I can look back at 2025 and say that's an anomaly. There were a bunch of injuries in the Rashee Rice situation at the wide receiver position. Patrick Mahomes didn't have anyone to throw to. The running back room needed upgrading. Patrick Mahomes got hurt. So many things that went wrong that you can point the finger to say this is why this season went off the rails. Mahomes magic wasn't Mahomes magicking. But until I see that 2 years in a row, I can't buy into that being the rule rather than the exception. Now, maybe you're 100% right. Maybe the Mahomes magic has just worn off. Maybe Travis Kelce really is looking 36, 37 years old. He just isn't as big of a contributor to this offense as he has been in the past. You bring in Kenneth Walker, the third at the running back position. You needed to address that position. You do it with the reigning Super Bowl MVP. I still will give Patrick Mahomes benefit of the doubt whenever there is benefit of the doubt to be given. But it's no mystery that the AFC got that much more crowded. That now the Patriots are going to, I think, be knocking on the door of the playoffs every single year. Now you have the Broncos. Bo Nix has gone to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, fresh off of the heels of an AFC championship game. I don't think the Chargers are going anywhere. I don't think that the Jags are necessarily going anywhere. I don't think the Texans are going anywhere. So all of those teams on top of, your usual contenders, the Ravens and the Bills and obviously the Chiefs. It's a crowded AFC. There's no doubt about that.
I do love Kenneth Walker III. And I said last year, I'll believe the demise when I see it. But we saw it last year. So let's see what happens. Yeah. And Chiefs fans, before you at me, yes, I wish I was a Chiefs fan instead of a Raiders fan most of the time. Your team's still better than mine. Relax. All right? Two things can be true. All right. From teams that are pranking us to teams that are out here right out of the gates showing us exactly how great they are. Shohei was on the mound last night, made his pitching debut. We'll tell you about it next.
What do you make of Dana's demeanor since getting into this?
I listened to all of his stuff where he used to just destroy boxing promoters, that we take no risk. And then I see him like tattoo on an island between Crawford and Canelo in a photo op where he's not doing anything. He's standing there just like one of us schmucky promoters in between two guys in like a stand-up cutout. It just feels off to me.
And the Lakers look like contenders right now. But Danny, I know you have some skepticism about this team's ability to actually get through the gauntlet that is the Western Conference. Why is that?
They'd have to beat Jokic, Wemby, and Shea in consecutive rounds, 2 of the 3 without home court advantage. I do not believe they can win 3 Western Conference playoff series. I do not believe that.
Now, they do hand the ball off straight up the middle. Swiggity Swooty went for the booty. That is a touchdown. What a run. I'm going to need a moment. Ball's in the air, and just like that, CJ Wyndham with yet another big play.
That was the exact play action after the first play of that drive. They set it up perfectly.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around. And I think we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Oh, the collective sigh of relief you heard was the just gasp of knowing that the Dodgers are right back on track. Dodgers fans like myself were very worried. 6 shutout innings from Shohei as he makes his debut on the mound, dispatching the Guardians 4-1. 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, the easy dub. LA goes to 4-1. Cleveland, 2 hits in the entire game. Caroline, I think this was just a reminder, and we need it a little early in the season because you look at the Dodgers and you say, okay, this could turn into just a boring run through of what's going to make it beautiful. Like, what's our peak reason to watch Dodgers over and over and over again? I found myself in this one saying, okay, the peak reason to watch the Dodgers is because you just, every time Shohei steps on the mound, it hits different.
No pun intended. Look, anytime Shohei Ohtani, baseball puns. Anytime Shohei Ohtani does anything, it's must-see TV. And we talked to Jeff Passan earlier this week, whenever that was. Time kind of runs together. And he talked about how Shohei Ohtani may be the greatest baseball player who's ever lived. Acknowledging Babe Ruth's existence, Shohei Ohtani may be the greatest person to ever pick up a baseball. And that is like, I hope that everybody hears that and it doesn't fall on deaf ears. I hope we don't roll our eyes because we're so accustomed to the greatness of Shohei Ohtani. And, maybe you have Shohei fatigue and you're saying, okay, please, we get it. No, we are watching baseball history and baseball greatness. And even Shohei last night, look, He threw 6 innings, gave up 1 hit, struck out 6. And that just kind of it's like, oh, okay, Shohei did that, got walked twice, and then also had a hit last night as well. Like, we get used to it. We become accustomed to it. Even though Shohei didn't pitch for a majority of last season, he threw, 4 or 5 games in the postseason. But even when Shohei didn't pitch last season and he's coming back and looks like he's in mid-season form, it deserves to be acknowledged. Like, we deserve to shout out and to just pay attention to and to, give credit to what Shohei is doing, because it truly is remarkable. I don't want us to take what Shohei Ohtani is doing for granted.
Yeah, and look, I know historians always come in and say, "What about this guy? What about this guy?" I don't care about your history.
There's no whataboutism with Shohei.
Shohei is the best baseball player we've ever seen and we ever will see. My only question is, is he the best athlete we'll ever see? I mean, there is so much to what Shohei does so well. It's untouchable to me. And, frankly, the biggest question the Dodgers are going to have is, I think, over the course of the year, is complacency, injury, all of these things. Do they put Shohei in bubble wrap and just hope that we can wake up in September and they can get a couple of starts out of him? It's just to warm him up and get him ready for the playoffs, because Shohei is such a different weapon. And it's not one or the other, it's both. And I know he's not hitting early in the season the way that we're used to seeing him hit. My question is anyone willing to bet their house that won't turn around over the course of the year? I'm not, right? So certainly he'll be fine. He's going through a mini slump at bat, and that it doesn't even matter because he's able to do what he did on the mound last night. The funny thing is, whichever skill set he's exhibiting that night, the other skill set is just the added bonus. It's just the cherry on top. And when you are talking about that level of brilliance and that level of impact, it all pun intended, it hits different. So to me, we have to watch sometimes and stop, I think, the larger Dodgers question of, are the Dodgers, I think there are so many people that are viewing the Dodgers through a lens of anger that they refuse to actually stop and see what they're seeing as they're seeing it. I won't do that. We make jokes about me being a Dodgers fan, but at the end of the day, I'm mostly indifferent to all of this. What I want are the best storylines. But right now, what I want is every opportunity to see the best ever be the best ever. And that means I want to watch Shohei go out and dominate, because this is the sort of athlete that when you're sitting in a retirement home in 40 years, everybody's bored with you telling the same Shohei stories over and over and over again. I refuse to normalize the greatness of Shohei, because I think it's one of the dumbest things we do when we cover sports. And he's particularly should be immune to that because of how much impact he has historically, currently, and forever.
I think there's going to be historical context attached to it, 1000%. But if we just want to look at it through the baseball lens as well, let's not forget, Shohei did not pitch really for the entirety of last season. He returned to the mound in the regular season last night. And that's the stat line that he put up. Let me just say it again. He threw 6 innings, which that in and of itself, I think, is pretty impressive, especially on March 31st, that early in the season, when you're still kind of getting in a ramping up period. He gave up 1 hit and struck out 6. And we're talking about a guy who is still ramping up, who is still getting reacclimated to being, a two-sided player. And he looks like he's in midseason form. Like, that's terrifying. That's terrifying, I think, for everybody else in the league. That's terrifying, I think, for every other contender in the National League. We know how terrifying Shohei is just in general. We know how terrifying this Dodgers team is in general, because they are, the evil force, and they were this unbreakable, unshakable team last season, and they only got better this past offseason, which in and of itself is, kind of annoying. But the Dodgers are and do what they do. So I think that, as adding on top of how good Shohei looks on March 31st, how good Shohei looked even when he wasn't pitching for the majority of last season, I think is so scary for the rest of the league. It's a long year. It's 162 games. We're 5 games into it. I know that. I acknowledge that. But still, I think we can expect even more great things from him and from that entire team.
We had fun watching Shohei. The Guardians had fun watching him because they certainly weren't actually hitting him. And also, you had fun watching your Cards. They shut out producer Josh's Mets, all right?
Yes.
And Caroline
Sorry,
went to Twitter to make a proclamation, an actual statement to the world that your life has changed. I don't know how we feel about this, Caroline, as you
Yeah.
let the world know that J.J. Weatherholt has single-handedly changed your life. You get married in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
I don't know how Dylan feels about this.
Yeah.
Like maybe he changed your life. Maybe.
No, for sure. I'm getting married next Saturday, and yeah, that's gonna change my life for sure. But Dylan's never hit a home run for the Cardinals, so I think he kind of understands where he stands in the hierarchy of the most important people in my life. I'm kidding, sort of, kind of. But JJ Weatherholt, I stand by it, has single-handedly changed my life. Here's why. I'll explain it. I was born in the late 90s, and my whole sports fandom that I remember was St. Louis Cardinals dominance, right? One of the first memories I have as a sports fan is the Cardinals going to the World Series in 2004. They lost to the Red Sox, they went back in 2006, and they won it. And they won it again in 2011. And in between them, the Cardinals were always a contender. They were always winning the pennant. The Cardinals were always nationally relevant. The Cardinals are one of the historic franchises in Major League Baseball. In the last couple of years, the Cardinals have been a laughingstock. The Cardinals have been embarrassing. People aren't going to games. They set a new attendance record for fewest people that came to a game, at least in the New Busch Stadium. It's been a rough couple of years. And I know that there's probably Angels fans and A's fans and Pirates fans out there saying, oh, you poor thing. You suffered through 2 years of bad baseball, even though you've witnessed with your own 2 eyes 2 World Series championships. I understand that I'm a very, very spoiled baseball fan, but it's been rough and it's been sad to see. It's my hometown. It's my team that I've loved forever. And it's sad to see them kind of go off into irrelevance. What JJ Weatherholt represents for me, and to I think a lot of Cardinals fans, is hope. Hope that this team is going to turn things around. Because there was a minute there where I was not optimistic that the Cardinals were going to be able to put a plan together to dig themselves out of the hole that they were already in. That the Cardinals felt like they were just kind of in this repetitive cycle of doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, but just getting worse. What JJ Weatherholt represents is a potential future of the next great Cardinals teams.
Hope is the drug here that matters so much in a long baseball season. I think what's really difficult when your team sucks, and your team sucks, is it is a marathon. So why are you watching? In March, we know why you're watching. You love the game, you missed the game. In April, that miss starts to goes away, and then all of a sudden you hit June, and the question is, are you gonna suffer through the summer months of watching your team just get miserably beat week in and week out? I think there is an element to me that when you mention the hope, that's the most important part when you're rebuilding. If you're being transparent, I love the fact that the Cardinals really are here being transparent to their fans. This is going to be a process. I think when you do that, but then you also show hope along the way, it's the equivalent in the NFL of having a terrible team, but suddenly you find your quarterback. And then all of a sudden you say, okay, wait, there's a reason to watch, right? You need a reason to watch when your team is just constantly awful. And, there are already fan bases right now, a week and a half in, that have given up on this season, right? And there are already fan bases right now that are looking around saying, why do I love this team? So for you to have a reason to have hope, I think is really significant here, Caroline, because that's what a young star can do for a rebuilding team. It doesn't mean the Cardinals would be good, but I think what we need to remember in a baseball season that's so long, much like the NBA and the NHL, long marathon seasons, the thing that's worse than being bad is being irrelevant. And if you don't have somebody that gives you a reason to watch, and the baseball world a reason to talk, and SportsCenter a reason to run a highlight, suddenly you wake up one day and you feel like your favorite team doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's the most hopeless feeling in sports, is not that, your team stinks, because we all go through that. It's that your team stinks and nobody cares anymore. That is the fear. And the Cardinals are doing the right things early on to make sure, 100%. They're making sure that is not their truth. All right, we're going to keep spitting truth, but coming up next, we'll spit some truth about the NCAA tournament, what you need to know with the Final Four right around the corner.
What are some things about the Detroit Pistons that we on the outside might not know?
The culture, when I walked into this, the culture for me was pretty impressive. The way the players kind of come to bat for each other. And, Isaiah Stewart is not a guy off the court that is like an angry human being. In that Charlotte game, it was all he was saying in the locker room was like, "I'm gonna have you guys back." That's what I do. For me, it's impressive to see just how together everyone is and the culture that they've continued to build.
I have Sadiq at the top like you. That's not the surprise. Sam Roush from Stanford, who had the big combine, unlike a lot of college tight ends that are productive, he actually, in my opinion, is playing the position like a pro right now. I love how he rumbles after the catch. I like Sam Roush quite a bit, Nate, because I just love that I could put him on the line of scrimmage, and I think he's tough as hell.
If you're a team that needs a left tackle, would you be concerned that this seemingly is a right tackle draft?
Concern, no, because you got to have a plan for it. And this is where your area scouts and the forecasting of what's coming out in the draft is important, and understanding that. I want to go back to CC Noah that you talked about. I think his overall stock is up for me because I'm feeling like now, if you have CC Noah on your team, now he gives you the ability to put your best five on the field, whether he's your right tackle or he's your guard.
See the snap.
Jerome to throw, and that's caught. Demond Street goes up and gets it, and it'll be 1st and goal for New Mexico.
Demond Street's having a day.
1st and goal. Johnson on the keeper, and he'll throw it up, and Jefferson's got it. Touchdown, New Mexico. How do you like that?
The Final Four is set. Arizona, Michigan, Illinois, UConn. Those are the 4 teams you'll see in Indy on Saturday with a chance to become national champions on Monday. For more on all things college hoops, we bring in our college hoops expert, King McClure, joining the show. So, King, good morning, my friend. Let's start with those 4 teams. All right, you see those squads there. Arizona, Michigan, Illinois, UConn. What's the common thread that you see in those teams that other teams might be looking at saying that's what we need to accomplish to become a Final Four team?
That's actually a really interesting question, Fitz. I think when you look at Arizona and you look at Michigan, I think the common theme that stands out with those two teams are, they play a different brand of basketball that a lot of coaches in today's day and age don't want to play. They play an inside-out game. When you look at the bigs, you look at Michigan, you have Mara, you have Marez Johnson, you have Jackson Winterborg. You look at Arizona, you have Krivas, you have Pete, you have Awaka down low. You have guys who are willing to dominate you on the glass. You throw the ball inside, and if they double, if they collapse, then they can kick out for threes. But it's not a team that necessarily relies. Neither one of them are teams that rely on shooting the three-point shot. They just play an inside-out brand, and I think that right there is something that a lot of coaches in the transfer portal might look at doing. And then you look on the other side, UConn is just championship DNA. That's what Hurley does, what Hurley brings to the table. That's why they were able to win that game and pull off that incredible comeback. And then another interesting thing is Illinois. I don't know if anybody had Illinois advancing this far, but going overseas, going to go get foreign pros, guys who understand how to play basketball at a high level and have already done it for so long, I think that can be another avenue in which coaches start to explore even more than they already were doing.
I want to dissect the Final Four, go team by team here. Let's start with Arizona. I knew Arizona was going to be terrifying. Then I saw them absolutely wipe the floor with Arkansas the way that they did. And I was like, okay, now this team is different. I don't know who's beating this team. What do they need to do to win 2 more games and win a national championship? What's key for the Wildcats?
I think they just keep doing what they're doing. That team is spectacular. And it's so interesting to me because the way that they do it is I just talked about how they play inside our brand of basketball that's different than what we're used to seeing, but they're doing it with 4 freshmen on the floor. Well, really 3. Aristotle counts in their 8-man rotation. He's probably the 8th guy. But they do it with 4 freshmen. And that is unheard of in today's day and age. You have 4 seniors and you have 4 freshmen, and the freshmen lead the way sometimes. When you look at that last game against Purdue, Koa Pete just put the team on his back. There were moments where they couldn't score the ball, so they're getting the ball to Koa Pete. He's getting to his mid-range pull-up, and he's just knocking it down and able to get them out of some droughts offensively. So I think that when you look at this Arizona team and, you see what they did to Purdue, I thought personally Purdue was the best team that lost in the Elite Eight, right? When you look at all the opponents of the teams who advanced, Purdue was the best one. Purdue was a team that I thought could have been in the Final Four and could have competed for a championship. In that second half, the way that Arizona dominated them and came together and said, you know what, we're going to figure this out. We're just going to go play hard and we're going to play up to our expectations and we're going to get this done. That to me was impressive. So if they keep doing what they're doing, I think I have them as my national champion.
All right, so they're taking on Michigan. Carolina and I made it very clear we can't figure out who the hell's going to win that game. So what makes Michigan so just difficult to get through?
It's kind of similar to in Arizona, but I think the difference is Yaxel Lindeborg. I mean, when you look at this young man, he is a mismatch problem. When you put him at that 3 spot, now all of a sudden you're playing 6'8", you're playing 6'9", and then you're playing 7'2" with Mara down low. I mean, Yaxel Lindeborg is a guy who has the perimeter skills to be able to beat you off the dribble if you put a bigger defender on him. But then if you put a smaller defender on him, he can back you down and work his way into the post. And he's a great passer. So if you send a double, he's going to be able to dissect you. And with the way that some of their guards have been shooting the basketball, now all of us like Namari Burnett, Elliot Cadeau, when you look at the way that they've been shooting the basketball better and just knocking down those catch and shoots, it's really hard to guard because then when they put the ball up in the air, you got to deal with Marez Johnson and Mara crashing the glass as good as they can. And Mara is also an excellent passer as well. So I think that this Michigan team they just do a really good job. Their teammate does a really good job of picking on mismatches and exposing your weaknesses on the defensive side. And the way that they completely destroyed Tennessee, I mean, that wasn't even a game. You know, I was actually flabbergasted the fact that they were able to do Tennessee and punk Tennessee, a super tough Tennessee team, a super physical Tennessee team, the way that they did. But Michigan, when it comes down to this game, I think what it boils down to is Arizona, to me, has more guys who will play in the NBA than Michigan does. So I give the slight edge over Arizona just because of that. But both teams are so even.
I live with a Tennessee fan, King, who scheduled his entire weekend around that game. And we were gone running errands by halftime. He was like, I can't do it. I cannot watch this game any longer. And I didn't blame him. But I do want to look at the other side, the other matchup that we'll get in the Final Four. Illinois, the unlikely team to get out of that side of the bracket, past Florida, past Houston, now representing the Illini in the Final Four. How did they get here, and what's so dangerous about this team?
Well, they talk about they're the tallest team in the country, so they pose a lot of problems on the offensive glass, and I didn't realize how many problems they pose until I saw them go up against the Houston team, which is who's known for what they do on the glass, how dominant they are with their physicality, how they try to punk you as soon as they step on the floor. However, they didn't do that to this Illinois team. The Illinois team did not back down. I'm talking about from start to finish. Illinois said, hey, we are ready to match your physicality. We are not intimidated by what you bring to the table, and we're going to go show you that we're better than you. And they have a guy who I don't think is getting a lot of pub, but needs to, Keaton Wagler. I mean, when you look at what he can do at 6'6", I think one of the main reasons that they're having success is because he is a top, honestly, the way he's trending, the top 8 pick in this upcoming draft. I mean, at that point guard spot, to be 6'5", 6'6", he's all of 6'5", 6'6", to be able to dissect the defense the way that he can do it. I mean, that's what impressed me the most when they played against Houston and they beat Houston, was the ability to be able to come off of pick and rolls, right? Houston loves to put 2 on the basketball. They blitz you. They try to hard hedge you. When you hard hedge, now that completely eliminates your vision so you can't see on the opposite side of things. Well, the guards of Illinois, really good guards can do this, and the guards of Illinois are really good. So when they came out of the ball screen, they were able to look opposite, pick on the backside tags, and get their shooters wide open shots. So to me, the guard play, the physicality, the length, the size, that was what's so impressive about Illinois. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Illinois get to a championship game and give whoever they're playing against a run for their money and have a chance to win that game.
Well, now, congratulations. Hurley's going to clip that off and play it for all of UConn repeatedly. It's more disrespect for the Huskies. But this UConn team on paper, I don't think many people thought they'd be here. I did, but many people didn't pick them to be in their Final Four. What makes them special? How do they win this game?
Well, I mean, there's no secret that Hurley just understands how to win. And I know that we always talk about championship DNA, and it's something that just can sometimes sound so corny and sound so cliche, but it's a real thing. When you're in those moments and you're used to winning and you understand how to win, you just figure it out and you just win. They shot like 20 and in the 20s, around 20% from the three-point line. They didn't have a great three-point shooting game. They were down 19 to one of the best teams in America and somehow found a way to win that game. When Braylon Mullins hit the shot, I was floored by the shot, of course, but I was more so trying to process how in the world did this happen? Like, how did they even get a chance to be able to win this game based off of how bad they played? I mean, without Terrence Reed, they probably lose that game by 30 or 35 because Terrence Reed literally saved them in the first half, and he saved them sometimes a little bit down the stretch. But that's what happens when you're used to winning. When you know how to win, you just figure it out. When you're down 19, you aren't panicking. I mean, you got a lot of guys who have had success. And when you got a guy like Caravan, who to me is one of the most successful college basketball players to ever play the game of basketball. When you look at his resume, it's unlike almost anybody that I've ever seen. It is so impressive. And to add this Final Four just takes it to a whole different level. So Alex Caravan understands, hey, we're down by 19. I've been in games like this before. This is what we got to do in order to turn this ship around and win. Right. And that's exactly what they did. And the play that he made, right? We always talk about the shot that Braylon Mullins made. Well, the unselfishness by Caravan, right? To be able to get the ball with 4 seconds to go. A lot of guys would have panicked. They would have literally tried to force up something in your Caravan. You deserve to be able to shoot that shot at the end of the game. If he takes that shot, I don't think anybody questions him, right? Nobody questions him taking that shot. But the unselfishness to realize the time and score, not panic, because 4 seconds is actually a lot when you're on a basketball floor, to be able to get the ball, kick it back to Braylon Mullins, have faith, have the confidence in your rookie, in your freshman, to be able to knock that down from that deep. I mean, that just goes to show what Caravan and how smart he is, how intelligent he is on a basketball court, and how much he understands how to win. And that's why he's had the career in which he's had. So yeah, UConn has a chance, but I was floored that they're even here.
Is Dan Hurley the best coach in the country?
It's hard to say no. Like it's genuinely hard to ask that question of who's better. I mean, when you talk about in the past, 4 or 5 years of basketball, I don't know if there's a coach more successful. I mean, the only coach that I throw up here and call me crazy is Ben McCullum. And the only reason why is because when you look at what he's done in the last 10 years, despite the level, success is success. 4 national championships at the Division II level in the last 10 years, takes Iowa to an Elite Eight. I mean, I don't know. Like that to me, I don't care what level you're coaching on. If you can win 4 championships in 10 years on Division II level, you're a hell of a coach. So I would say that Dan Hurley is definitely probably the best coach in college basketball right now. But Ben McCullum is not too far off, and there's others that I could probably name as well.
All right, so Monday night, who cuts down the nets? Who wins this whole thing?
I'm going with Arizona. I just think that the way that they play the game of basketball, it's hard to really imagine them having a bad night. They've been the most consistent team throughout the season. They understand how to win. They're led by a veteran point guard in Jaden Bradley. I genuinely think that Arizona cuts down the nets.
So he goes with the Big 12 team. I had to give you a little grief. I had to at least bring up that you go with the Big 12 team. Says the guy that played it, ... Baylor. I'm just saying. All right. King, always appreciate your time, man. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We appreciate your insights.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me anytime.
Great stuff. Follow him on social media at King_McClure is how you get to him. All right, coming up next, we just talked about Hurley. The fact is, the basketball capital of the world is clear. We'll tell you where it is next.
Who is your first player to team fit that you absolutely love?
Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end of Oregon, to the Chiefs. And this was basically a post-combine reaction, basically Vernon Davis style numbers athletically. And so I think it was validating to see kind of him put those numbers up athletically, his speed, explosion, change of direction. He feels like a player that is not going to drop very far in this draft, especially in a draft where there aren't a ton of blue chip players.
Do you feel pressure that this is America's birthday, this is the White House, you have to represent?
Hell yeah. I do feel pressure. I feel pressure that, I got to go out there and represent for the United States, and I got to go out there and I feel like I'm going to be expected to go out there and win this fight. I'll probably be a favorite. There's pressure right there too. I put pressure myself. I need to finish. It's been too long.
Johnson to the end zone, caught. Guess who? C.J. Jefferson.
And talking to the coaches this week, they said that's your playmaker. That's the guy that Jerome Johnson has the most confidence in. And there you are on 4th and goal, and you throw it right at the goal line, right at the yellow line at the wall. Terrific throw. Nice catch.
Great execution there for New Mexico. They had to have a play.
The Dallas Mavericks, are they still taking Cooper Flagg, Corey?
He is legitimately, as a 6'8" wing who does everything at a high level. Shows up every day, competes his ass off.
The way his handle has improved since high school to Duke to now suggests that this guy can be a MVP candidate, not just a multi-time All-Star as a role player, a high-end star role player, but a mega star.
UConn is the only FBS public school in Sportico's database that spends more money on basketball than football. And it sent both its men's and women's basketball teams to the Final Four this year. Think about that. They do have a football program, for all joking aside. They have a football program that's actually gone to a bowl game recently. But as a school, they choose to spend more money on basketball. Another fun fact, they're the only school to ever sweep both the men's and women's national championships in the same year. That's UConn. They've done it twice, in 2004 and in 2014, and now they have a very real shot at doing it in 2026. Caroline, I think it's a clear and easy statement here. Storrs, the home of the University of Connecticut basketball, is the college basketball capital of the world.
Period. That's it. And I know that everyone in Raleigh, North Carolina is, how dare you? I know everyone in the state of Indiana, what? There's no way. I hear you. I understand that. I don't know if there's really even a debate, though, that Storrs, Connecticut is the college basketball capital of the country. Because no other school in the country has had men's and women's basketball championships in the same year. And Connecticut's done it twice. There is no debate that UConn is the best and most storied tradition in women's college basketball. Gio Ariam has won 12 championships, and he probably will win another one this year. I mean, look at the WNBA. Look at the best players that have ever played the game of either women's college basketball or women's professional basketball. Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart and Maya Moore, now Paige Beckers, Diana Taurasi, all went to UConn. So on the women's side, there's absolutely positively no argument. Storrs, Connecticut is the capital of women's college basketball. And then you add in the fact that Danny Hurley won back-to-back national championships back in the Final Four this year. How many total championships does UConn men's have? 6, 7? A lot.
6.
I mean, several.
6.
6, thank you. Could be 7 this year. I don't know. Maybe a little peek into the future. So I understand that, the Duke and North Carolina rivalry, both of those schools have very, very storied and traditional basketball programs. I know Indiana and Kansas and Purdue, all blue bloods in this sport. But UConn, that is the epicenter. And I understand that there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with that. But what's the argument against that? Both for the men's and women's game, UConn is the standard.
Yeah, I mean, right now, UCLA holds a record for the most NCAA men's basketball championships. They have 11 titles. 10 of which were won by John Wooden between 1964 and 1975. I'm old. 10 of those 11 titles came before I was born. Kentucky has 8 championships on the men's side. North Carolina and UConn have 6. So at this point, if we're really looking at modern basketball, particularly, there's no argument that's even close because, frankly, nobody can touch the success of the UConn's women's basketball team. And even if you think somebody could, even if you want to say UCLA's men's basketball teams back in that day were dominant, well, okay, I'll take your UCLA or I'll take your UConn women's basketball, and they sort of cancel each other out. So then the question is, when you combine these two together, men's and women's, how can it even be close? And the answer is, it isn't. We're in an era of dominance. And I want to go back to the money spent, Caroline, because I think there's a lesson here. When you talk about where UConn chooses to allocate their funds, that's not by accident. Number one, basketball is incredibly important to the state of Connecticut. So every single bar shuts down when there's a college basketball game. Every single place is packed. Every single TV is tuned to it. Basketball matters to this area. So they choose to invest in basketball. And I get that. That's a big part of it. But the college also, the university has also looked around and said, hey, where's our money best spent? I think more schools across the landscape need to look in the mirror and have really honest conversations about whether or not they can be football competitive and then maybe follow suit on this. If you're a school like, no offense to our producer, Josh, Syracuse, like, why are you investing in football anymore? Like, why? Just put all of your assets into the concept of making basketball work, right? Like, go to where you can compete at the highest level across the board and ask yourself, how can we make sure we're as relevant as possible at something, right? Like, I went to high school in Maryland in an era where Maryland basketball was absolutely incredible and Maryland football was a waste. Guess what? If I'm Maryland, if I'm the AD at Maryland, I know sacrilege is Big Ten school at this point. I don't care. Shut down football if you have to. Put the money into basketball because you at least have a shot to use those. You're never going to raise enough money to compete with the Texas A&Ms of the world. So wave the white flag and instead worry about becoming great at something. Worry about becoming marketably great at one sport, and that's basketball. I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat.
I hear you, because I look at other programs around the country that could probably follow that same framework. Kentucky, Louisville, you mentioned Syracuse. I think that's a good one. Teams that aren't traditionally football powerhouses, but are basketball powerhouses. Like, if Kentucky football never won another game, but Kentucky basketball was consistently winning national championships, I don't think that you would hear a single gripe out of any Wildcats fans. It is basketball, and that is it. That is all they care about. But I think we also have to acknowledge the difference between those programs that we just named, Louisville, Kentucky, Syracuse, and UConn. Louisville and Syracuse play in the ACC. Kentucky plays in the SEC. I don't even know what conference is UConn in football. Are they Big East? Are they American? Are they independent now? I don't even know.
I'll have to look it up. Actually, we cover college football, and I don't want to misspeak on it. I could be wrong, so I'll look it up.
I don't know. You know why? Because I don't really care. Because I don't really. They're an independent. Okay, they're an independent. Great. For the longest time, they played in the American, or they played in the Big East, whatever it was. Because football doesn't matter in that area of the country. College football, might I add. College football does not matter in that area of the country. College football doesn't matter in any of the conferences that UConn has played in. The SEC and the ACC, those are different. Like, those are different stories. So even though Kentucky and Louisville and Syracuse, they're still getting their portion of the TV revenue, their check, their cut of what they are owed from being in those conferences, whether they go 0-12 or 12-0, it's all the same. But to act like not even being competitive when you're competing in those conferences, I think is a little bit short-sighted. Just ask Vanderbilt, for example. Vanderbilt has been irrelevant in college football forever and ever and always. You can't tell me that a Vanderbilt fan or a Vanderbilt alum hasn't been more engaged and intoxicated by the past couple of seasons of Vanderbilt football. Being relevant, it matters. Being relevant galvanizes an alumni base. It galvanizes spending and people who want to invest into the programs. The ticket sales, the brand recognition, which brand recognition matters far more than it ever has in college sports in general. That matters. So I think that UConn might have a privilege in football that maybe some other quote unquote basketball schools don't have. I think Indiana's the perfect example of that too. Like Indiana basketball has been fine over the last couple of years, but Indiana football just won a national championship in football. That's crazy. That was inconceivable for a long, long time. And it's because they invested in a coaching staff, they invested in a roster, and they invested in making sure that the football program had total and complete synergy from all the way to the bottom of the athletic department, all the way to the top of the athletic department. And that's going to pay dividends for the Indiana athletic department as a whole. Football is still king in the SEC, in the ACC, in the Big Ten. UConn football doesn't matter because it never has, and it's not even in a conference that's going to push UConn football to even be competitive.
Back-to-back 9-4 seasons for UConn football. They are independent. They've gone to back-to-back Fenway bowl games. So they've actually gone to bowl games.
A Fenway bowl game.
Yeah.
Whoa,
But you're right. You're
baby.
right.
Woo.
My only thought process to all of us, I won't say pushback, but like my co-host when I work on Fox Sports Radio is an Indiana alum, and he went to the national championship game for Indiana. And I asked him afterwards, all right, you've won a national championship as an Indiana fan. How does that compare to what it would mean to win a basketball championship for Indiana? And without hesitation, he said we could win 10 natties in football, and I'd trade all of them for one basketball championship. Kentucky fans, incredibly well from all your years in the South. I think they're very similar. I hear you. The revenue share of being in the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC, also Big 12, makes it much different because you're making so much money off of football in theory, but you're also more often than not going to be sustainably competitive. And I just wonder at some point what the value is to at least being really good at something instead of being sort of meh at everything. And, I pick on certain schools that certainly haven't had sustained success in their respective sport. But I guess I would ask a school, it's get me hammered by Wake Forest fans, but I'll ask Wake Forest, like, okay, what's the point? Your football team is never going to be good enough to actually do much. So you'd have to invest so much to be able to sustainably be a college football playoff team. Or you could take those resources, essentially decide you're not defunding football all the way, but you're just not going to make it a priority. And instead, you're going to make basketball a priority. And then you could spend your way right into competitiveness to a national championship. You can have a real shot at a natty in a school like Wake Forest that you're not going to have on the football side. Yeah, yes, Indiana is the exception.
But didn't we say that about Indiana?
Yeah, but how many?
We have said
Indiana
that about
requires
James Madison? Couldn't we have said
I don't
that
think
about
James
Texas
Madison
Tech?
has James Madison has a shot at the playoffs and making playoff money, but James Madison has zero shot at an actual national championship in college football. So I guess, the playoff money versus where they are, group of 5 being allowed in is fine. Not every school has a Mark Cuban. I think you got to look around at your fan base. Again, Vanderbilt has a huge, very wealthy fan base. Indiana has more living alumni than any other college in the United States. So once Mark Cuban started to invest astronomical amounts of money in football and the donors saw it, they were able to quickly raise enough money to be competitive. Is that going to be the situation for Boston College? I don't think so. Like, is Boston College ready in a new world of college football that is likely going to have a salary cap that will increase every year, and that salary cap is going to get to 30, 40, 50 million? Is Boston College going to be willing to spend $50 million a year for football to not have a shot at a championship, or should they put that money instead in basketball where maybe 10 million actually gets you in, maybe 20 million gets you an NCAA championship? It'll be an interesting thought process to see how it plays out. In the meantime, we'll continue to break down all things college basketball with somebody that knows it better than all the world. Evan Turner going to join us later, or coming up, I should say. We'll get his thoughts on some NBA, some LeBron, some everything coming up.
What do you make of Dana's demeanor since getting into this?
I listened to all of his stuff where he used to just destroy boxing promoters, that we take no risk. And then I see him like tattoo on an island between Crawford and Canelo in a photo op where he's not doing anything. He's standing there just like one of us schmucky promoters in between two guys in like a stand-up cutout. It just feels off to me.
And the Lakers look like contenders right now. But Danny, I know you have some skepticism about this team's ability to actually get through the gauntlet that is the Western Conference. Why is that?
they'd have to beat Jokic, Wemby, and Shea in consecutive rounds, 2 of the 3 without home court advantage. I do not believe they can win 3 Western Conference playoff series. I do not believe that.
Now, they do hand the ball off straight up the middle. Swiggity Swooty went for the booty. That is a touchdown. What a run. I'm going to need a moment. Ball's in the air, and just like that, C.J. Wyndham with yet another big play.
That was the exact play action after the first play of that drive. They set it up perfectly.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around, and I think we still check up on each other. I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Evan Turner just dropped a "I Can't Stand Philadelphia" to close out the NBC pregame, I should say. Evan Turner joins us right now. 10 years in the NBA, second overall pick in the 2010 draft to that city. All right, clarify it. Let's see. Evan, we got to give you the platform, my friend. Your thoughts on Philadelphia?
Man, I literally just be trolling. And like, as a retired individual who just has time to do whatever, like sometimes I be looking at people like, yeah, why do y'all still visit this Twitter? Like, why do y'all like I'm 37 years old. You should know the difference between playing and being serious. And to be completely honest with you, I visited Philly a few times, and they're doing a really good job in like upbringing the city. Like they got a lot of great stuff going on in the river, downtown. It's been very, very impressive. So I want to give Philadelphia a little bit of love, even though I do really hate it. But I do believe in their team. I believe they do have some depth, and I do believe they are dangerous. It's like, it's just brotherly love. And I grew up in that as a pro, so I can't lose it.
Okay, so you do hate Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's like a love. Hey, I would date her. You know what I mean? I would date her, but I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I want to be proud about it.
Okay, so I've heard that Philadelphia fans are, trying to find the right word here, insufferable? Maybe a right word?
Yeah.
Like Eagles fans are booing Santa Claus? Like, talk to me about the fan base here.
Yeah. I said this other day, I was like, bro, it's literally brotherly love. The only difference is, like, I used to beat up my brothers. Like, we would fight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, with Philly, like, you have to, it's too many people to fight. So you got to kind of take it on the chin and, accept the backhanded love that they give you and move forward. But it's been fun. It's always, I always get a lot of, traffic when I send some shots towards the good people of Philadelphia, but it's just trolling. And I think now, like, when you look at comments, it's like, everybody relax. Like, you don't hate me that bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you care about what happens to me. Let's keep it classy.
No, you mean on social media? Yeah, to keep it classy, never. All right, so you mentioned, yeah, it's crazy. You mentioned you're retired, okay, but we look back at the stat machine. In your 10-year NBA career, your debut came October 2010 against LeBron and the Heat. So we're watching this last night. LeBron passes Kareem. For somebody that's retired and played a whole career in the NBA, to see LeBron doing what he's doing right now, what's it say to you?
No, it's unbelievable. It's longevity. I think one thing we need to really appreciate just as a whole that's watched it is he's dedicated his whole life to entertaining us. And, even when careers are going at, they say scientifically you should be out your prime by 32. This guy's put in the work to really, surpass greatness and to really, solidify his spot in history. And I got a lot of respect for that focus because I know after year 8, I was drained of like hopping on planes and stuff. And this dude's been doing it for like 22 years.
I know it's been a hot minute, but you never forget your NBA debut, especially when it comes against LeBron James. Miami gets the 97-87 win in that game. You don't have to worry about that. But what do you remember about that game leading up to it? Like, what were the feelings?
One, it was my birthday. So it was my 22nd birthday. So I was excited for that. Yeah, I was super I was scared, nervous, not scared, but it was just like your first game. I was a pretty big pick, so everybody's just waiting to see what would occur, and then I'm trying to get my feet under me, knowing I'm about to face LeBron and D Wade. So it was, it was like the first time where I was like, "Whoa, this is the NBA. This is prime time." But it's a cool story to have, and it was definitely cool to see at that time the level they played at. They played at a high intensity that was tough to really combat and keep up with. And you understand why LeBron and D Wade were able to do some amazing things in Miami together.
I mean, so that's your welcome to the NBA moment, but you're also from Chicago. So having lived growing up around the shadow of Michael Jordan, but playing against LeBron, who's your GOAT?
Man, I feel so bad because to me it's not close. It's Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like MJ's a man. Like MJ's a man. I think just growing up to me, he's a real life superhero. And I don't want to do any comparisons about like how he was feared or not feared, but it's it's only one Coca-Cola. You understand what I'm saying? And when you explain it like that, it's no slight to LeBron, but MJ is the greatest of all time, man.
I have to imagine. I mean, you're growing up in Chicago. You're growing up in Chicago in the 90s. Like
Yeah.
that's it's peak Jordan. How much did he influence your love of the game?
Man, it was everything. I always say I was grateful for two things, or a few things, like having my family, just randomly growing up in Chicago. Like I think like that helped my basketball journey because it's a basketball city. But then also too, just growing up during the Jordan time. I remember just being a kid at 4 years old and screaming, "I want to be like Mike." And I think when you not even get too deep on you, but when it goes down to a situation of growing up, with a single mom, MJ was kind of like a father figure in the standard to really, know that you can make it out. And he kind of just say, "Yo, go be legendary." And shoot, to a certain extent, that was one of the few people telling me to go be legendary. So I always remember my ascent trying to make it, and then see him one day and be like, "Yo, I made it." Like, you know what I mean? Like I made it. Like you probably don't even know me, but you helped me make it because you're Mike. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy to me as you talk about that, because if you could invent a time machine, if we went back to the 90s and we were sitting there trying to tell everybody, "Hey, by the way, the Bulls aren't going to be relevant in the NBA for a really long time." How shocking is that now? Like, what do the Bulls have to do to become sort of one of those franchises again?
Yeah, it's shocking that, when you break it down like that, dang, it was 98 since that occurred. And then I guess the next closest time is everybody screaming that they were going to beat the Heat during LeBron run. But I think one thing they need to do is probably try, like, apply pressure just a little bit. Like, I don't know. We do all this analytics, hold the front office accountable. One thing that bothers me sometimes, and I think Josh Jackson said this about the Suns back in the day, he's like, "Yo, we need to stop blaming these kids for the mistakes that adults are making." So, like, hey, bro, when it comes free agency, I haven't seen a big-time free agent come through this bad boy yet. Like, when it's coming down to who are main go-to guys to build around, it's like, I feel like it's all opinion. And, I just think, and it's all subjective, I just think we need to just try a little harder and put our big boy pants on or whatever. Shoot, this is a job for a woman, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't, like, it's ridiculous. Chicago's one of the best cities in the world, one of the biggest cities in the world, and we love, we love winning, and we love to show up and support. So hopefully it gets together, and I wish everybody involved in that situation the best, because I know building a team isn't easy.
Yeah, no doubt. But I do want to give you the opportunity, kind of continue to reflect on your career. And I can only imagine 10 years in the NBA, 82 game seasons, plus the postseason, things start to run together, I'm sure. But is there one game in particular that really stands out to you when you look back on your career?
My fifth year, maybe it's my fifth year, maybe it's my sixth year. It's whenever the Warriors were on their run and they were doing all that Warrior stuff, and they had like a 41 game home win streak. And I remember me and a group of replacements went into Golden State on the second night of a back-to-back, and we were able to take out the mighty Steph Curry. And the Warriors to break their 41-game win streak. And I think one thing that occurred, obviously the Warriors were unbelievable, but I remember sitting with like Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, and you know what I mean, like Marcus Smart, and we're up to like 4 a.m. just kicking it, and we were like so confident, like, yo, we're finna. People don't even know, but we're about to go and we're gonna beat these dudes the next day. Like, don't worry about the game we just gave up in overtime. We're about to beat the Warriors tomorrow in front of everybody. And I just remember, like, when you look back on it, that was a crazy thought. But I remember you had like 3 or 4 psychos in the room, like, believing, and that kind of always just like carried me on to be like, hey, anything is possible. Like, we beat the Warriors, like, and we had no business beating the Warriors. So I think sometimes. You know, it sounds corny, but what you can do with the strength of numbers and camaraderie is everything. And I think that's one thing I took away from the game of basketball that sounds cheesy, but it's really taught me a lot in life.
So for somebody that gave so much to the game every night, when you see the conversation about tanking right now for so many of the bad teams, what do you say to it?
I was involved in the first year of Trust the Process. And, you know, I understand both sides, but when it comes from the game as a competitive nature and respecting, like, you know, people's time, it's like, I mean, it's like telling y'all, hey, show up, but don't know anything. Don't make this a great show. Don't give eye contact. Make sure, you know, you hold in your burps. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like all that. So it's basically like the same thing of being like, as a young man where you just compete. It just threw me off of being like, wait, we're allowed to. So you're telling a group of like to lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just don't. I understand the situation, but even when you sit there and look at the Trust the Process, in 2012 they got rid of that team that made it 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to the exact same spot 4 times. Tanking doesn't do anything besides make the roster more expensive. They spent like a bajillion dollars for that team from 2015-16 on to be done by the end of April. You know what I mean? So there's no guarantee in that win situation.
I always say organizations tank, players don't. Like, players aren't going out there to lose. Do you want to look at one of your former teams, Portland? If they do make it out of the play-in tournament, what chances would you give them against either OKC or San Antonio in round 1?
Man, I don't even want to be like, I would give them tough chances because I know they've been playing inspired basketball and they have such a good culture. And I think when you have a young team that is playing with energy, like I spoke on, they can be very, very dangerous. I think you have to take a note from Mitch Johnson when he said the other night about trying to catch up to the Portland Trail Blazers for the #1 seed. You can only control what you can control because they don't lose much. You know what I mean? So you can't really call their losses, but I think Portland has a couple of spots where they can hit from different angles. They just got to make sure to get guys healthy. You know, Shaden Sharp has been out for 5 weeks. You know, Jeremy Grant just got hurt a little bit as well, but I think they'll be pretty good if they're able to play defense and get out and run.
All right, so then what about the Celtics? Obviously, the Celtics finding themselves way past most expectations for most of this year, right? And then they get Tatum back. What do you make of the Celtics in the East and their chances of coming out?
Yeah, I really have the Celtics coming out the East. I'm not going to lie to you. I was impressed the other day with Detroit by how much they've been able to play well without Cade Cunningham. But I think Celtics is a culture thing. I think they're clicking on all cylinders. And I just think, you know, this isn't the first season of them, like, going through, you know, the trenches. I think Jason and Jalen been in the playoffs together like 8 or 9 times. So I think they're battle-tested. I think a lot of teams in the East right now are trying to figure things out and get healthy. And I don't think the Celtics have that problem. I think they're clicking on all cylinders. I think they know their rotations, and they're ready for the playoffs to start and pray that they're healthy, you know?
You know, you were the #2 overall pick in the NBA draft, so you are uniquely positioned to answer this question. There's been so much talk about the upcoming NBA draft, how much talent there is in this draft. So as somebody who was drafted #2 overall, who are you taking #1 and who are you taking #2 in this upcoming draft?
I'm going to take #1, I'm going to take my man Darren Peterson. I'm taking him for sure. Just being in college, man, I think one thing that you underestimate, everybody screams about the cramps, but he would leave those games with like 20 points and play half the game. I think one thing that occurs is his body. I know him a little bit, so I know his mindset is, an elite mindset for that next level. But, he's a great shooter. He's a great scorer, and I think for his age at that guard level, it's very hard to find a few like him. AJ DeMassa is unbelievable as well. I don't think this is a slight. I think this is 1A, 1B. I just personally like the shooting guard. Sometimes they mostly have the ball in the league. You see right now Ace Bailey sometimes when you're the 3-man, unless it's the right type of situation, you're playing off the wing, and if you get a young guard like Keontae George or something, your numbers might be impacted. But I'm very much into Darren Peterson going number 1. I like his game, like his body and his mindset.
I know we got to let you go, but real quick, as a number 2 overall pick, what advice would you give these guys about the pressure of being picked as a franchise savior in the draft?
I think one thing you have to start internally. You have to earn respect of your guys in the locker room. It don't matter what the city says. It don't matter what the owner, who don't even speak to the rest of the players, say. You have to own the respect of your peers. You have to show up, respect and figure out how they do things for the most part. But at the same time, know who you are and, walk that walk, talk that talk, man. Alphas are alphas for a reason. You know what I mean? And, just take it from there. I think also, too, as a top pick, don't worry about the numbers. Try to worry about the situation and fit. If I had to do it all over again, I would have stayed in the green room 10 minutes longer and went to New Jersey, because that was a better situation. Andre Iguodala wasn't there, you know what I mean, at the wing. Drew Holiday wasn't there at the wing for me to develop or get in the way of my development. I could have went to number 4 or number 4 Minnesota. That would have been the best situation for me to develop. Or, number 5. Sometimes it's better to not say avoid going to playoff teams, but I went to a playoff team and, my development got mixed in with everybody else's. And you see that with Lonzo Ball, D'Angelo Russell, some of these top picks where, you need space to really build a foundation and grow the way that they want you to. So that's pretty much it.
Man, that's a brilliant breakdown. Evan Turner, you can follow him on Twitter if you're out there in these streets and you want that mess. At the KDET, come on. Evan,
if you don't have anything else to do, and I mean anything else to do, then you can follow tweets. Just let's not take it personal, because half the time I don't remember what I said. So, and I can fight. So please don't walk up to me on the street and be like, hey, Evan.
No, keyboard kittens on Twitter would never actually say it to your face. We all know that. We all know that. The minute they got to your face, they'd be like, "Man, can I have an autograph? So nice to meet you." That's the way.
But it's so funny because sometimes I be trolling, and I'm like, man, if I wasn't me, would I be harassing other people on Twitter? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, so you can't really get mad at it. I'm like, man, like, damn, what does it say about me? But it's all good, man. Y'all keep doing y'all thing, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
and
Evan.
Keep killing it, bro. Big time. No doubt.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
really
you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All
right. Coming up next, Todd Monken. Hair looks perfect in that picture. We'll tell you why that's significant coming up.
What are some things about the Detroit Pistons that we on the outside might not know?
The culture, when I walked into this, the culture for me was pretty impressive. The way the players kind of come to bat for each other. And, Isaiah Stewart is not a guy off the court that is like an angry human being. In that Charlotte game, it was all he was saying in the locker room was like, I'm going to have you guys back. That's what I do. For me, it's impressive to see just how together everyone is and, the culture that they've continued to build.
I have Sadiq at the top like you. That's not the surprise. Sam Roush from Stanford, who had the big combine, unlike a lot of college tight ends that are productive, he actually, in my opinion, is playing the position like a pro right now. I love how he rumbles after the catch. I like Sam Roush quite a bit, Nate, because I just love that I could put him on the line of scrimmage, and I think he's tough as hell.
If you're a team that needs a left tackle, would you be concerned that this seemingly is a right tackle draft?
Concern, no, because you got to have a plan for it. And this is where your area scouts and your forecasting of what's coming out in the draft is important and understanding that. I want to go back to CC Maunoa that you talked about. I think his overall stock is up for me because I'm feeling like now if you have CC Maunoa on your team, now he gives you the ability to put your best five on the field, whether he's your right tackle or he's your guard.
See the snap.
Jerome the throw, and that's caught. Demond Street goes up and gets it, and it'll be 1st and goal for New Mexico.
Demond Street's having a day.
1st and goal. Johnson on the keeper, and he'll throw it up, and Jefferson's got it. Touchdown, New Mexico. How do you like that?
New Browns head coach Todd Monken says he missed the NFL's annual coaches photo Monday because he was getting a haircut for the coaches photo. So, interesting moment here as he misses the haircut that he needed for the picture he was getting, which brings us to some April Fool's Day fun. Fitting because we heard some weird excuses in March, including Monken. So we'll look at some of the weirdest excuses in over the course of the month in sports and figure out how foolish they are. Are we buying this one? What do you think, Caroline?
I don't think that's something that you lie about. I just don't understand how you get a haircut and your hair still looks bad. And also, Todd Monken has what, 6 hairs? 7, maybe, on a good day? Don't mean to shame the man, but let's just call it like it is. How long does your haircut take? Like, how in the world could Todd Monken's haircut take so long? And he also skipped out on a meeting. I don't know how you skip out on a meeting when it's your first year as a head coach in the NFL. He missed out on a meeting to get a haircut for the coach's photo. So he not only missed the photo, he also missed the meeting. And he doesn't have that much hair. So I don't really buy this. I don't know why you would lie about this, but I don't think I buy it.
No,
Just wear a hat.
So I buy it, but also a couple of things here. Number one, Todd Monken, you're down in Florida where it's beautiful. Coaches are out day drinking together with Jay Glazer. They're having a whole party. You good sir,
And he was there
made
at
a
that?
lot of money. Yeah, 100%. He made the day drinking,
He
of course.
made it for the
but
drinking.
He's also made enough money that if he really needs that haircut right before, he could pay somebody to come to the hotel and give him a haircut right there. Like they could have just snipped it. And look, as a person that, I get my haircut every 10 days. I like to get my haircut regularly. I understand it. If I got a photo coming, boom, I like to get my haircut. I understand all this. However, Todd, at some point, 31 of 32 got the memo. So either I've seen some reports that, he was there at the time that was allocated, but that wasn't the correct time. Okay. Somehow everybody else got the memo. So either you're uninformed properly, which is a problem, or when you stand up in front of your team and you tell them that the devil's in the details, that is a little bit saucy now because you missed your own details. This is a bad look. I mean, look, it's not a big deal. He missed a haircut. He missed a photo. Who cares? But at the end of the day, it's laughable because it's the Browns. If it was anybody else, I don't know that we would laugh as hard. But when it's a bad team, if it had been the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets, the Titans, if it's a bad team, everybody finds a reason to look at it. All right, let's go to this story next. And when we're talking about weird, foolish excuses, Anthony Edwards missed his start on Monday night for a reason you're about to see on a censored tweet. Let's pull this up. And we see here Anthony Edwards on why he didn't start the game last night against the Mavs. I was taking him. All right, so he missed his start because he had not a part, but instead of fart and couldn't trust it. Are we buying this excuse?
Yeah, look, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. If he had to go poo-poo, then he has to go poo-poo. Look, he's got a long game ahead of him. So, look, I get it. You have to take care of it whenever nature calls. Maybe we could have come up with a little bit more of a ladylike word to use. Could have said I was powdering my nose. I was tending to some business in the restroom. And we all would have gotten the point. But look, that's just me. I would have said powdering my nose, but that again is just me. But look, man's got to do what a man's got to do. So what? He had to take a poop.
Yeah, well, look, I think, yes, as a man that openly says tinkle, and I was wildly surprised to see that Giannis Antetokounmpo and I are basically the same person because he also says tinkle. I would have
I've
probably said
often said
my
that.
tum-tum was bothering me, or like I had some tummy issues. Like I'd have found some other way to say it, but at the same time, man's got to do what man's got to do. Much better that he misses the start of the game than he's up, dropping a dunk and instead drops more than that on the floor. We don't need any of that action. So look, I'm just glad that all worked out and he was able to come out and get done what he needed. As long as he wasn't in playing a game on his phone while it was happening. That's the one rule. As long as it was a power deuce and trying to get right back out. I love that I just
was it
power deuce
was it
as
a
part of my job.
quickie? Because
it needed to be.
I don't know what it is about men. Let me just say that. They'll take a long time in the bathroom whenever you have to take a poo-poo. It takes a very long time. So as long as it was a quickie, as long as it was an express number 2, that's all that matters. Get out there, take care of your business, and then go get down to business.
Yeah, I'm an in and out guy. Like I want you to not have any idea whether I wonder toot. That's the goal. Is like in and out. All right. So Doc Rivers, while we're talking about weird excuses, just got announced as the inductee in the 2026 Naismith Hall of Fame. But a few days ago, he was asked about the Bucks when they were eliminated, and here was his quote. It's been disappointing, obviously, since I've been here. I haven't had a healthy stretch, and it's been your key guys. It's been Giannis. It's been Dame. This year having only one quote-unquote star. Every other team has 2 and 3. We needed health. We were thin. All the talk and all that stuff probably didn't help either. Are you buying injury as the excuse here for why the Bucks have underperformed?
This is just so lame. And Doc Rivers has said so many lame things to the media since he's been in Milwaukee, just giving excuse after excuse after excuse as to why he and this team is falling short of expectations. Look, I get it. Sometimes the injury bug bites, and that's unfortunate. But you had 36 games of Giannis Antetokounmpo this year, and you don't really have much to show for it. Any coach in the NBA would kill to have just one game of Giannis, much less 36. And did Doc Rivers get dealt an unfair hand? Sure. But the fact that you're pointing that out to the media and not taking ownership as to why your team is irrelevant this year, lame. I think that's so lame on Doc Rivers. Take ownership. Quit giving excuses. You get compensated far too well to be pointing the finger at other reasons why and not looking in the mirror and pointing the finger at yourself.
There's an adage in basketball I've heard so much lately from analysts that I respect, talking about the fact that players win games and coaches lose them. That's got to be the mindset more often than not. And Doc is telling us that injuries are the reason. I just want to tie this all the way back. This is a long callback to our conversation before about Coach of the Year and whether or not the award matters. Let's remind everybody that Doc Rivers was a Coach of the Year before in the NBA. So look, apparently, according to the NBA, he's been the best in the business at some point. That doesn't mean that he's doing best in the business work right now. There's a very simple answer here, and that is everybody has failed. Across the board, everybody has failed the Bucks. Everybody has failed Giannis. Let's get one more in real quick. Syracuse ladies basketball head coach said that for us to continue to come back to Connecticut year after year, to me, is a personal attack. After being in this business for 37 years and have to come into this bracket every year is unacceptable, and it's wrong. So that is from Felicia Leggett. Jack, what do you think? You buying this excuse?
Also lame. Look, you can't change geography. You can't change where Syracuse is, and you can't change where UConn is. So unfortunately, Syracuse, more likely than not, when things are broken up into geography and regions, are going to get, the pull of UConn. If you can't change that, why don't you change your program? Why don't you create a team? It is in your control as the head coach of that team and the head coach of the leader of that program to be more competitive with UConn. There are good teams all across the country. You just so happen to be next to one of the best ones, if not the best one. Figure it out.
More Yahoo Sports Daily coming at you tomorrow at 9 a.m. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks for watching. Come back and see us tomorrow.